In the back of my
It's in water.
Wow, you look good.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
W's in the chat, man.
Look at that girl on your screen right now. She is young, happy, and just being a teenager on a live stream, laughing and not thinking about anything except the moment she is in. The man in that same stream with her is David Anthony Burke, one of the most talked about young artists in music at the time. Nobody watching that stream that night had any idea that she would later be found dead, cut into pieces, stuffed into bags, and left in the front trunk of his car for weeks until the smell gave her away. Her name was Celeste Rivas Hernandez. She was 14 years old when she died. And this is the story of how one of the most promising young artists in music ended up in a Los Angeles jail cell, charged with killing a child he had first started talking to when she was 11 years old.
Hey, Huz, I just realized something. Whenever you go number 2 and you wipe, you're digging in your butt. I don't dig in my butt. I don't dig in my butt. You dig in your butt, twin, and you do it every day. When you wipe, you're digging in your butt.
Let me take you back to the beginning, because you need to understand both of these people before any of this makes sense. David Anthony Burke grew up in Houston, Texas. He came from a religious household, sang in his church choir as a little kid, and spent most of his teenage years at home, playing video games and making music on his phone. He had no professional equipment and no studio. He recorded his first song sitting inside his sister's bedroom closet, using nothing but the small microphone built into a pair of Apple earbuds.
It's like, let me bring you back. So it's November 2021, and I'm crying to my mother about it. She's telling me, go make music on my own, get out of my face. I don't want to hear about your copyright issues, right? I go in my sister's closet. I'm like, okay. So I start watching my clips. Like, I'll get my gaming clips at the end of the day, and I'll start looking at them. And I'm thinking about, like Hans Zimmer almost, scoring, uploading the shot to the beat and everything, and then letting the instrumentals speak, right?
He'd been trying to make background music for his gaming videos on YouTube and kept getting flagged for using other people's songs. His mother told him to make his own music or stop complaining. So he went on Google, searched how to make music on iPhone, and taught himself everything from scratch.
That level of self-drive is honestly hard not to respect. By 2022, when he was just 17 years old, his song Romantic Homicide had gone completely viral on TikTok. It was a slow, emotional track about losing someone, and millions of people around the world felt it deeply. He signed to Interscope Records, one of the biggest music companies on the planet. He collaborated with major artists. He went on world tours, and his debut album, called Withered, debuted at number 13 on the Billboard 200 chart. He was 20 years old, and the entire music industry was standing behind him with both hands. From the outside, this was a beautiful story. A young black kid from Houston who taught himself everything, came out of nothing, and became a genuine star through pure talent and hard work. But behind all of that, something very dark had been building for years, and most of the people around him either did not know or did not want to know. Now, let me tell you about Celeste. Celeste Abigail Rivas Hernandez was born on September 7th, 2010. She grew up in Lake Elsinore, California, a quiet suburban city about 70 miles southeast of Los Angeles. Her parents had come from El Salvador, and she was the first generation of her family born in America. People in her neighborhood remembered her as a sweet girl, the kind of kid who would stop at the local corner store after school to buy chips and candy, always polite to the people behind the counter. Her long, curly black hair made her easy to recognize on the street. She was not a troublemaker. She was just a kid trying to figure out who she was, the same as any other teenager. But Celeste's home situation was hard. Riverside County Sheriff's deputies had been called to her family's address 11 times in just over 1 year, mostly for minor disturbances. A former boyfriend of hers from middle school told reporters that she had a rough relationship at home, especially with her mother, and that she talked often about wanting to leave. She was the kind of young girl that predators specifically look for, vulnerable, searching for love and attention, willing to go looking for it in places that no child should have to look. And sometime around 2021 or 2022, she found something online that felt like what she was looking for. Based on what investigators later put together, DeFord and Celeste first made contact through the internet when she was approximately 11 or 12 years old, and he was around 17 or 18.
She became a member of his official Discord server, which was a group chat platform he used to connect with fans. People inside that server knew her by name, and they called her his girlfriend openly, like it was nothing unusual. It was just accepted in the circle. Both Forv and Celeste got matching tattoos, the word shh tattooed on their right index fingers. That tattoo would later become one of the most important pieces of identifying evidence when her body was found. He also reportedly recorded an unreleased song using her name as the title. The lyrics included the line, "Oh Celeste, the girl with my name tattooed on her chest." He wrote a full song about a girl who had his ink on her body. A girl who, at the time those words were written, was barely in her teenage years. And nobody in his circle said a single word about it. By early 2024, the relationship between Celeste and Forv had moved far beyond chatting online. A former teacher of hers came forward publicly and told reporters that Celeste had confided in him about a rapper she had met on social media who lived in Los Angeles. According to that teacher, Celeste had run away from her home in Lake Elsinore to go and be with this person in Hollywood. Police eventually tracked her down and brought her back to school, but she ran again and just kept running. On February 14th, 2024, Valentine's Day, Celeste left her home in the early hours of the morning and was reported missing by her family. She eventually came back that time. Then on March 19th, surveillance cameras in the neighborhood caught her walking quickly down a street near a local store before she disappeared again for a short period. Then on April 5th, 2024, she left for the last time. Her brother Matthew told NBC Los Angeles that she told the family she was going out to watch a movie and simply never came back. She was 13 years old when she walked out that door. Her mother, Mercedes Martinez, put up missing person flyers everywhere and posted desperate messages on social media, publicly begging her daughter to come home. The Riverside County Sheriff's Office had an open missing persons case on Celeste. Nothing moved, and months went by with no trace of her. Digital evidence and surveillance footage that investigators later found confirmed that Celeste was still alive as recently as January 2nd, 2025, nearly 9 months after she first disappeared. During that time, the evidence suggests she had been living at least sometimes at the Hollywood Hills property where Celeste was staying. People in his circle who saw her during this period believed she was 19 years old and a university student because she was carrying fake identification documents that made her appear much older than she was. She used those fake IDs to get into events, clubs, and places where a 13 or 14-year-old would never have been allowed through the door. In late July 2025, David's Tesla Model Y was parked on Bluebird Avenue in the Hollywood Hills and simply left there. It just sat on that street day after day, not moving. A private investigator later reviewed neighborhood surveillance footage showing the car being driven one final time on July 29th before it was abandoned completely. On August 28th, the vehicle received a parking ticket for being left in the same spot for more than 72 hours. Still, nobody came to move it, and on September 3rd, it was finally towed to an impound yard in Hollywood.
5 days later, on September 8th, 2025, the workers at that impound yard reported a smell coming from the Tesla that they could not ignore any longer. LAPD responded and opened the front storage compartment of the vehicle, the section at the front of a Tesla that some people call the frunk because there is no engine in the front of an electric car. What they found inside those 2 black plastic bags is something nobody should ever have to find. The first bag contained the severely decomposed head and torso of a young one, completely covered in insects. The second bag, placed underneath the first, held her severed arms and legs. The vehicle was registered to David Anthony Burke. Investigators determined from the state of her body that she had likely been inside that car for several weeks before the discovery. The medical examiner could not immediately identify the cause of death because the body had decomposed too severely, but the identification itself came quickly. On September 16, 2025, the remains were officially confirmed as Celeste Rivas Hernandez through DNA testing and other forensic methods. The "shh" tattoo on her right index finger matched exactly what her mother had already described to investigators.
Brand new video of Celeste Rivas Hernandez that completely rewrites the timeline of the case as we've come to know it has surfaced. Video was recorded at the home of Celeste's parents in Lake Elsinore, California, exactly a year ago, or a year before her body was found in the trunk of a car belonging to the rising music star named David. We had been told that Celeste went missing in April of 2024 and that her family hadn't seen her since. But this new video was recorded by a Nest camera on September 8th, 2024. Which would make that 4 months after she ran away. The neighbors who provided the video to TMZ say that it shows her arguing with people who had pulled a prank on her. Take a look.
Let me talk real quick, okay? You gonna let me talk? I ain't gonna let you talk. No, you ain't gonna let me talk. Why you not gonna let me talk? You tripping. I ain't tripping. Nah, you tripping. Out the door and you tripping.
Oh my God.
Nah, because you tripping. Move this out of here.
You ain't gonna do shit. You ain't gonna do shit. You better get over there. Get your over there, little girl.
Just by the very dates of this video seems to prove that Celeste visited her family at least once after she ran away for the last time. But a year and a half after the final missing person report was filed, her body was discovered in a frunk. That's the front trunk of David's Tesla. That was just 3 weeks ago. This video was just discovered as we're finally learning what's been going on behind the scenes of the investigation. The LAPD's captain and commanding officer released a statement saying that the body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez was likely in the frunk of the Tesla for a long time before it was discovered. According to Captain Scott Williams, quote, "We know for sure that Celeste Rivas Hernandez died and someone placed her body in the front trunk area of David Burke's Tesla. We know that the Tesla had been parked at the location from which it was towed for several weeks. So it is very likely Celeste Rivas Hernandez had been dead for several weeks prior to her body being discovered." I know, you don't think it's a big deal because it's like, yeah, we know all that, right? Not really. Like, this is the police finally confirming it, and they haven't said a thing. But that really does track with our reporting last week when we spoke with a private investigator who tracked down the tow reports for this Tesla. And they showed that neighbors had called police about that car on August the 26th. Police responded the next day and ticketed the car as per protocol. They got to wait 72 hours between each of the tickets they put on there. And after 3 visits, then they can tow the car. The second ticket came September 3rd, and the Tesla was finally towed September 5th. So by our math, police were involved with the car for a week and a half. But the neighbors who lived nearby said the Tesla had already spent close to a month abandoned on that side road. And by the way, incidentally, it was just 1 street over from David's $20,000 a month mansion that his manager was renting. The Tesla was registered in David's legal name, David Burke. The 20-year-old singer has not been arrested, nor has he been named a suspect. But his friends confirmed to TMZ last week that he was indeed in a romantic relationship with a 14-year-old girl, Celeste. Social media posts indicate they may have even known each other since she was 12, and maybe even 11. Captain Williams responded to the friend's characterization by saying, quote, "As far as their relationship, it would be premature for me to say anything. We are looking into everything." An important piece of the puzzle that has yet to be determined is Celeste's cause of death. The medical examiner has deferred a cause while they await the toxicology results. But one thing they have determined is that Celeste Rivas Hernandez was not pregnant when she died.
On the same day that her remains were discovered, David was on stage at the Fillmore venue in Minneapolis, performing for a full crowd of fans. He handed out merchandise to people in the audience. He performed, smiled, and said absolutely nothing in public about what was happening back in Los Angeles. And the people around him backed him up loud and proud.
So let's see. Wonder boy, you knew about that.
Who?
You were working with David. You were his cameraman when that happened. You didn't say nothing.
Yes.
No, you're messed up. You didn't say nothing when David was going down with that.
He likes what he likes. David likes what he likes.
People went on camera and said these things confidently, loudly, for the whole internet to see. We will come back to every single one of those people before this video is over. But first, let me walk you through what happened when law enforcement started doing their job properly. On September 17th, 2025, 9 days after Celeste's body was discovered, LAPD detectives from the Robbery Homicide Division showed up at D. Ford's Viddy's Hollywood Hills rental property with a search warrant in hand. The house was rented for $20,000 per month by D. Ford's Viddy's manager, Josh Marshall, although D. Ford's Viddy had been the one living there. The property was just a short distance from where the Tesla had been left abandoned. Detectives swept the entire house using luminol, which is a chemical that reacts with blood and produces a faint glow even when blood has already been cleaned from a surface. They checked every room and every drain in that house. The detectives were trying to determine whether Celeste had been killed inside those walls. They walked out carrying a laptop, electronics, and multiple evidence bags. Separately, a private investigator named Steve Fisher had been hired by the landlord of the property to look into what had happened there. Fisher reported finding a burn cage inside the home, a type of industrial incinerator that can reach temperatures of 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit. There was no normal household reason to have something like that. Fisher handed everything he found over to LAPD. He also told reporters that he had reviewed neighborhood surveillance footage from July 29, 2025, and had identified the last person who drove D. Ford Viddy's Tesla before it was abandoned. But he refused to name that person publicly because he did not want to interfere with the official investigation. Within days of that search, D. Ford Viddy and his manager broke the lease on the property and moved everything out immediately. By November 2025, LAPD made their position on the case completely clear. Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton stood in front of cameras and said directly, "Accountability is coming. Our detectives have been working and not waiting. They are going to get justice for Celeste Rivas. No one is off the table, including him." A Los Angeles County grand jury was then formally put together. For those who are not familiar with how this works, a grand jury is a group of regular people from the community who review evidence in complete secrecy before any formal charges are filed. Prosecutors present what they have, witnesses come in and testify, and the jury decides whether there is enough evidence to move forward. No defense attorneys are allowed in the room during those sessions. Everything that is said there stays sealed from the public. D. Ford Viddy was named as the primary target of that grand jury, being investigated specifically for one count of murder. One of D. Ford Viddy's close associates, a man named Neil Langston, simply refused to show up as a witness before that grand jury. LAPD tracked him down in the state of Montana and had him arrested for failing to appear. They flew him back to California and forced him to testify. Think about what it means for a prosecutor's team to go all the way to another state to arrest someone just to get their testimony.
That is not the behavior of people who are guessing. That is the behavior of people who are absolutely sure they are building something real. D4V's own family members in Texas were also issued legal orders called subpoenas, demanding they appear and give testimony before the grand jury. They went to court in Texas to try to block it. That legal fight was partially successful through an appeal, but the documents that were made public during that process confirmed D4V as the target of the investigation and revealed for the very first time the full details of how Celeste's body had been found, including both bags and the dismemberment. On April 16, 2026, at around 4:30 in the afternoon, LAPD Robbery Homicide Division detectives moved on a home on Marmont Avenue in the Hollywood Hills. Officers in tactical gear, carrying weapons, with K9 units ready, a loudspeaker being used to communicate through a locked gate to whoever was inside. The arrest footage leaked to TMZ within hours and spread to every platform on the internet within minutes. David Anthony Burke walked out of that property wearing gray sweatpants and a black hoodie, looking expressionless, not showing any visible emotion at all. He was walked down the street in handcuffs while armed officers surrounded him on every side. A neighbor who witnessed it told reporters she had never in her life seen that many police officers on one street at the same time. What people kept replaying from the audio of that arrest was the sound of his voice coming through the gate before it opened. The officer standing outside the gate made it very clear there was a K9 unit on the property and that if he tried to run, the dog would be sent after him. His response, completely calm, almost too polite for someone about to be taken to jail for murder, was this.
Oh, you can hear him talking.
If you try to run, we have K9 on premises and you won't get bit. I got you.
The LAPD's official statement that evening confirmed that David Burke, 21 years old, had been arrested by the Robbery Homicide Division for the murder of Celeste Rivas. He was being held without bail. The case was being sent to the district attorney's office on Monday for review by the Major Crimes Division.
Fallout continues for platinum-selling singer David, now in police custody, arrested yesterday by the LAPD in connection with a gruesome murder of a 14-year-old girl who went missing in 2024.
David's music label, Interscope Records, is already distancing themselves from the controversy. KTLA's Lindsay Pena is live in the Hollywood Hills, where the singer was arrested. Lindsay.
Yeah, Cher, Micah, the house where David was staying right before his arrest, relatively quiet today, and we're still not sure who might be inside. What we do know is that David is in custody, being held without bail until at least Monday. Singer David's arrest late Thursday afternoon captured by TMZ, the 21-year-old taken into custody at a home in the Hollywood Hills. The California Post also releasing this footage showing officers in tactical gear handcuffing David before putting him inside a patrol vehicle. The musician, whose full name is David Burke, has been on LAPD's radar as a suspect for months in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas, whose decomposing body was found in the trunk of David's Tesla last September. Although an investigative grand jury was convened in the case late last year, it never returned an indictment. At this point, it's unclear what finally prompted his arrest on suspicion of murder. KTLA legal analyst Allison Treasel.
Just because he's been arrested on suspicion of murder does not mean that on Monday he will be charged with murder. It means that he will either be brought to court and the district attorney will file charges at that point, or he will be released.
Rivas went missing from her Lake Elsinore home back in 2024. She allegedly met David on social media and, according to law enforcement sources, was in a romantic relationship with him. Treasel says what is clear is that investigators have spent months building their case, and Monday may be when we find out more about what evidence they have against David.
Including what type of forensic, digital, witness, information, all of that should become more available to the public on Monday.
David's defense team releasing a statement maintaining their client is innocent, saying the singer hasn't been charged with any crime. Quote, the actual evidence in this case will show that David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and he was not the cause of her death. Despite no official charges being filed yet, David's label Interscope already wiping his page off their site. Now, an attorney for Celeste Rivas' family telling us they plan to speak briefly on Monday after the DA makes their announcement. They issued a statement saying in part, quote, the family remembers Celeste as a daughter and sister whose loss has deeply affected those who knew and loved her. In learning of Burke's arrest, Celeste's father, Jesus Rivas, said, quote, thank God, justice for Celeste.
Former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani went on the Law and Crime Network that same night and said exactly what a lot of people were thinking.
Chris, my reaction is better late than never. I think this was something that we've all been expecting. When a body is found decomposing in the frunk of your Tesla, and there has been a young girl who's been missing for quite some time, and there's plenty of evidence that she ran away with you or a member of your entourage. I think there was a lot of evidence here pointing to David.
Now, to be fair to the process, his legal team responded immediately after the arrest. His lawyers Blair Burke, Marilyn Bednarski, and Regina Peter released this statement.
Let us be clear. The actual evidence in this case will show that David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and he was not the cause of her death. There has been no indictment returned by any grand jury in this case, and no criminal complaint filed. David has only been detained under suspicion. We will vigorously defend David's innocence. In a legal system built on the idea that a person is innocent until a court proves otherwise, that statement deserves to be heard. The defense team is right that no formal charges had been filed at the moment of the arrest. The cause of Celeste's death is still officially listed as undetermined because her body had decomposed so severely by the time it was found that the medical examiner could not establish exactly how she died. Proving murder in court, not just that someone put a body inside a trunk, is going to be a real challenge for prosecutors, and the defense will push hard on that point throughout the entire trial. But here is what no defense attorney in the world can explain away cleanly. A 14-year-old girl first met this man online when she was barely a decade and a half old. They got matching tattoos, and he wrote and recorded a song using her name. She kept running away from her family to be near him. She ended up living in his house, and her dismembered remains were found in his car, split into 2 bags several weeks after she died. While he was out on a world tour performing for thousands of people every single night, like absolutely nothing was wrong. Because the state of California does not have an active death penalty, if David Burke is convicted of first-degree murder with special circumstances, the maximum punishment he faces is life in prison with no possibility of ever being released. And those streamers and online personalities and friends who went on camera confidently and told the world there was no way he did this?
Have you talked about the situation?
With David?
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't do it.
He's not a murderer?
No.
Thank God, bro, because I was still going to listen to his music. I was just worried that I'd be an asshole if I did.
No, listen, he didn't do it. He literally performed the next day. If he was a suspect, the police would have been after him. He's not a suspect.
He's not just escaping the police clutches?
No, and I'm going to perform. We're going to perform on the 20th, me and David.
So let me get this straight. You support homophobic people and murder. Got it.
Nice one, bro. Nice one, bro.
You're performing with them?
Yes.
Is that your first time performing? No, you did
I did my own concert.
I saw that one.
So
period.
You think David did it?
Do I think he's a murderer?
Yeah.
Can't rule him out.
Can't rule him out?
Can't rule him out.
Damn.
Whatever a Los Angeles court decides about the guilt or innocence of David Anthony Burke, the story of Celeste Rivas Hernandez is already complete.
A child who needed protecting did not get it. And now her family sits waiting for answers, while the man who was supposed to love her sits in a cell, charged with ending her life.
Do you also think D. Ford murdered her? Let me know in the comments section. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.